Um, Thank you, Megan and Daisy.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us today to get some updates on this Hurricane Helene. Hope everybody's safe and dry. I haven't seen a lot of thunderstorms, but I do know it's really windy. But hopefully we can get some more updates, or if you have any questions, we can see how we can help with assisting and answering those. So welcome, Victoria or Dominique.
I'll let Dominique
Yeah,
take it away.
I'll go next. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Like I said, I hope you're having an okay day considering, everything that we're going through. And I'm personally still over at Largo High School. Have received the largest number of residents from the community, and Jessica will give more on the weather updates and shelter updates. But um, as far as shelter evacuations of Salvation Army and Pinellas Hope went well yesterday. I will mention Pinellas Hope was actually featured in a Tampa Bay Times article as part of those evacuations, and smooth sailing into our general population as well as our special needs shelters. At this time, there is no update on returns or anything like that, but we will be coordinating with those partners as well as our other partners to figure out if there's any potential census, and as well as needs as we move forward. I've continued to not receive any updates as far as identified needs, so we appreciate your continued coordination with us and just connecting with us for those needs. So with that being said, and if anybody has questions, I can pause now, but again, ask questions at any time, and we'll have time at the end as well. Okay. I'm going to pass it over to Jessica for kind of our emergency operations center update. Thank you.
All right. Good. I was trying to see what time it was. Good afternoon, everybody. I know some areas might even see some sunshine, but we still are pretty much under the radar of some severe impacts to continue. So right now, I said Hermine, Hurricane Helena is 90 miles per hour. The wind field is still very large, right? We're looking at 345 miles in that wind shear. So again, that's the entire state all the way over to Alabama. We won't see that change. Still forecast as a category 3, potentially 4 at landfall in that Apalachicola, Tallahassee, Wakulla County area. Impacts have already begun. As you know, they were slated to begin around 8 a.m. this morning. It has been pushed down a little bit, so we'll see impacts continue through tonight to 11 p.m., which is a little bit later than we originally anticipated. Peak hazards and weather will really start to deteriorate between 3 and 7 this evening. So although it seems like we're doing well, we haven't seen the most significant impacts yet. We already have gusts up to 50 miles per hour reported. Again, those are not sustained. Those are just gusts. We could see wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour still. So know that that's potentially there. We had a tornado watch. We anticipate we may see some tornado warnings come online this afternoon as we start to see more of that significant weather. Rainfall hasn't changed, 3 to 6 inches, 10 inches in some isolated areas. Of course, flash flooding still remains a high concern. Grounds are very saturated, as you know. We do anticipate we're going to see some flash flooding in areas that haven't traditionally flash flood before. We all know those normal areas that we see water, but we may see water in some areas we're not used to seeing. Storm surge is still 5 to 8 feet. The latest forecast had that on the upper end, so we may see some significant surge. We're already starting to see some areas, Gulfport, Shore Acres, kind of those traditional places are already seeing the surge start to come in. Again, as just a reminder, that surge will last through an extended period of time. So there was a slight shift of the system closer to our coastline, so we are seeing some tropical storm force winds closer to the Pinellas coastline. Doesn't change much of our surge, but we may see some stronger gusts come in during that 3 to 7 p.m. peak period. We here just continue to monitor. Again, weather will start to deteriorate quickly within the next few hours, so please make sure that you're advising staff stay off of the roads. That allows our first responders to be able to get to where they need to go. We are anticipating we'll probably see some water rescues start to happen as the surge starts to come in. So please keep folks out of their way so that our first responders can do what they need to do and get folks to safety into our shelters. Any questions for me? Our shelter census is about 1,400 right now. We anticipate that may rise some more as conditions continue to deteriorate.
I was curious, and Dominique can maybe answer my questions, Jessica, so I know you're really busy. I think you said this earlier, but what is shelter capacity? And do we have an idea of how much longer shelters are likely to stay open?
Sure. Yep. So the decision making of how many shelters to open is based on evacuation level. So we did an evacuation A level. We're prepared to house up to 25,000 folks. So we've got lots of space. You may think, how possibly could we fit that many people in? If we come down to it, it's 10 square feet per person, crisscross applesauce. So let's hope we don't get to that. Right now, we're looking really good, so people have some room to move. As far as shelter closings, no decisions, of course, have been made. We're still waiting for impacts. How that process will look is as soon as the winds have passed, county will do some push, sheriff's office will do some push to sort of do some street level damage assessment, clear the roadways, kind of see what we're looking at, what infrastructure impacts look like, and then the decision for demobbing the shelter will come after that. I would anticipate as we are potentially going to see impacts lasting through 11 p.m. tonight. It certainly won't be today. And so it'll be really critical in the morning when we see those first lights for those first pushes to go through to be able to make assessments on any closing. I will add that will make those of you that, especially Pinellas Health and our Salvation Army partners that have folks evacuated to our shelters, really critical that you all are able to get on site and do some assessments of your facilities. That information will help us also to drive some decision making as far as closing shelters. So we want to make sure you all are able to get back, but we need you all to be able to get there safely, do some quick assessments, and kind of give us the status update as soon as you are able so we can include that information. All right. Thank you guys for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Victoria, I don't know if you wanted to give any other outreach updates or if you just want to do Q&A, but that's all we had at this time.
Don't really have very many more outreach updates to give out. HLA did push out a community email update this morning, and we're trying to make sure that we keep people up to date. Again, if you have anybody you would like us to add to our contacts, please let us know. We want to make sure that as many people are informed and safe as possible. That's all I have. I see Arrow has her hand up. So, Arrow?
I was just wondering, so if any of the shelters sustain damage, I know Pinellas Hope's in a very vulnerable spot and with the tents and so forth, does that get relayed up to like Pinellas County Emergency Management and what resources are needed to get that back online? Or do they, like, is it reach out to the different, like, who helps with that, I guess, to help get them operationalized quickly?
That's me. So I work
hi.
with the just like I'm working on getting them out of the shelters
Okay.
and into hurricane shelters. I work with them on getting back. So
Okay.
one identified need a couple years ago was that there was actually it was identified that some water was shut off at one part of the campus, and we were able to partner that with with emergency operations to make sure they were able to triage that as quickly as possible. Of course, we can't, depending on what the damage assessment is and what the impact is, that's what we kind of work around. So in the past, Salvation Army hasn't had impact at the building, but the streets were still impacted. The streets were still flooded. So we kind of work, that's what we're talking about is like as quickly as we can get those assessments and kind of understand what their return looks like. That also helps guide that larger conversation of shelters closing and things like that. And if there's other needs, we also, most of those needs, and this is available to any of the shelters that are sheltering in place as well as those returning, is identifying if there's any unmet needs as maybe resources may be limited or shipping's got delayed, things like that. So how can we support the return and kind of reorientation of that?
Okay. I think I was just gonna say, like, if there are like volunteers needed, even just for cleanup on the site or anything like that, to help get them operationalized. Like, I think, as one entity that uses that, that shelter a lot and so forth, and, we can put an all call to see if we're able to at least put some extra folks over to help. So I can't guarantee it, but if we don't know that it's a need, then it's hard for us to help out. So
I would
Yeah.
add to that, Arrow, you're right. That's a super important resource. So if we do run into that sort of thing, please also let HLA know. And we will tap into our resources. We'll tap into our volunteers. We'll see what resources we can help coordinate as well. So please don't hesitate to let us know if anybody's running into those walls.
I could just hop in and add one other resource that's available. So Pinellas County has what's called a VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. We have quite a few members from all different nonprofits, faith-based, et cetera, who are available potentially to assist, of course, depending on what their volunteer pool looks like. They do have a coordination call every afternoon. And so I know for the last storm, we were able to send some volunteers out to start helping out at Pinellas Hope as they do some deck rebuilds, etc. So that is also a resource. If you guys want more information on how to call into the VOAD group, we can drop that into the chat. It's open to anybody in Pinellas County that works in this realm. So we welcome you to participate if that's appropriate.
I also had another question. I had seen Pinellas schools are closed tomorrow. Is our Pinellas County government offices closed tomorrow, or has that determination been made?
Yeah, government offices are closed through Friday.
Thank you.
City of St. Pete will be closed through Friday as well. Victoria.
Thank you very much for that update, Helen. On that note, if your organization is going to be closed tomorrow, please feel free to let us know, throw that in the chat, just to make sure everybody is on that same page.
Victoria, I think what I will do as well is get you some of the questions that have been as far as sanitation and stuff. I know for our unhoused neighbors, it doesn't reach them, but this goes further than our unhoused neighbors. So I'll try to get you that information as well.
Please do. After the storm, we will send out a lot of resources that include resources for our unhoused neighbors and our housed neighbors, because a big part of what we want to do is make sure people remain housed. And part of that is helping folks clean up and whatnot after the storm. So if you have those resources, please let us know. Also, Heidi's just put in the chat that Daystar will remain closed tomorrow. So Daystar is also closed tomorrow. Are there other questions for Pinellas County while we have them here on the line? This is the time, y'all.
I've got a question. Someone reminded me of it the other day that on some of the other storms, like if people lost power and lost all their food, that there might be funding sources that are able to help replenish with some, like food costs, or like if they've lost work for a certain amount of time due to a storm, that they may be able to help. Talking about the keeping people housed, I was just wondering, how do we start like documenting if we get calls on that to know like how big is big of like, you know, resources needed or anything like that? Is there a centralized place to?
Yeah, so like just kind of real briefly of how federal assistance and some of those programs, right? You think about disaster SNAP, some of the FEMA individual assistance programs. Part of that includes a damage assessment. So we as Pinellas County have to start collecting preliminary damage assessments on impacts to infrastructure, to businesses, to homes, et cetera. That includes human impacts. So we have teams that go out and do that initial damage assessment as soon as they're able to. We submit that data up to the state, and then the state applies for FEMA assistance. We have to meet a certain dollar threshold as Pinellas County for each event in order to qualify for assistance. And so that'll be part of the process. So what we can do, there is a citizen reporting link. So I'll make sure we get that out to you. Folks can report on, if you see pictures or businesses with damage or flooding damage, et cetera. The more data that you can send up our way, the more that they can start to paint that picture of what impacts look like. And we can apply for assistance here, and we can request those programs to get turned on. So again, we got to meet that dollar threshold, which is, I think, 4.5 million-ish for Pinellas County. And then some of those programs can start to come online. It does take a little bit of time, so I know that that's can be tricky for some folks. But as those programs come, we start to push that information out. I see Mickey's hand. We push that information out to 211 also. So we'll make sure that this group also can get any recovery information as it becomes available.
Mickey?
So I just wanted to remind everyone that we track all of the calls coming in. It's very quiet right now on 211, checking in with our team. This is very normal with any storm that we have. And then we document the need, what people are calling for and what their needs are, and if they've been impacted by disaster. So all that data is visible on 211 Counts. It's a national website. If you click on Florida, and then you can click on our agency name, 211 Tampa Bay Cares. And you can get our data, or you can go to our website, 211tampabay.org. I think under resources, you'll see 211 Counts. Goes right to our page. So what's happening in Pinellas County, and you can see where those calls are coming from. I know, Arrow, you asked about, kind of data and how we'd find out what kind of the needs were regarding food. We certainly will be tracking that on there. So I just want to offer that up as a resource for data.
Thank you, Mickey. I also want to point out in the chat that Heidi with Daystar says Daystar can assist with groceries for individuals. They also have MREs, blankets, financial assistance for qualified community members. Contact Daystar via their website. And Daystar is in St. Petersburg. And then Dolores with PIMS said FSI is available for families who lost work or food. If federal and state dollars are out, those dollars have to be implemented first before the county. And then asked, will disaster SNAP and FEMA info be emailed out to everyone when it is available? And I promise that I will send as much information as I get to the community and to providers. I will also post it on the HLA's website. I am confident that the county will also be pushing out that information, but I will let the county answer that question for them.
Yep, as soon as that's out, we'll get that out. Like I said, it does take a few days, right, to qualify for some of those assistance programs. So we'll keep pushing that out as soon as we get that information.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have any other questions, concerns, or needs that we want to talk about while we are together today? Again, now is the time. Hearing none, I want to remind everybody that PSTA's service has been suspended. So PSTA is not operating right now. Uber does still have a code so people can get to shelters, but of course that is up to the discretion of the drivers, and drivers may not be working right now. So that is still an option. There are 6 shelters open. So please share that information with folks. And then Lieutenant Haish has a hand up.
Sorry. I was trying to raise my hand on this thing and I clapped. I apologize. Dominique, I'm guessing this is a question for you. Is there any sense of the possible numbers of how many street homeless individuals are currently in shelter that are going to desire to go to shelter once you guys clear out the evacuation shelters?
Yes. So this year we actually added as part, it's a voluntary answer, but upon entry, kind of what their housing status is, as well as how they got here. So that helps us identify ways that we need to help them get back, or if they are unhoused. So versus in the past, we just kind of asked, how many do you gauge at your shelter that might need this? So we will have kind of a number ballpark, and we've communicated like that in the past where we say, hey, we potentially could have this amount. What capacity do you have? And you will be, one of the first ones we call for the census to see if you have any additional capacity to support that. So if you need some numbers, I can do some sorting on our spreadsheet and get with you directly about what we have right now. But I don't think that's going to be the total number of who actually would take a shelter placement.
No. As long as you guys are gathering it, I'm assuming you'll have something tomorrow morning.
Yes, that's the hope. And then, like I said, it is a voluntary capture, but we're also, having conversations with individuals at the shelter. And as the shelters, when they close, we'll have a better idea of who's going to be interested in shelter.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Dominique Suzanne asked in the chat, will those counts specify for both adult-only households and families?
Yes, we do keep track of both of those items. So typically, historically, we've connected with street outreach at the exit. And so street outreach teams have come in to support our shelter closures for any of those families and kind of helping a lot with diversion and things like that. So we'll kind of see how that goes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or needs? Again, if you have needs, please let us know.
No, just Mickey put the 988 information line in the text if anybody's feeling anxious or stressed to be able to pass out that information as well.
Thank you for sharing that important resource, Mickey. I also want to let folks know that HLA's offices will be closed tomorrow. We will still be on this call at 1 o'clock as we are today. We will still be pushing information out to the community. And if you need us, we are still available, but our offices will be closed as well. Questions, comments, concerns? Dominique, anything else that you would like to add, or Jessica?
No, that's it. Thanks everyone so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you.
Thank you
Take
all.
care.
Stay safe.
There.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.